ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஸ்ரீ பகவத்கீதா, Bhagavan's direct instructions to Arjuna, nectarian instructions. Bhagavad Ramanuja Embemanar has given beautiful Gita Bhashyam, Vyakhyanam for Bhagavad Gita. Vedanta Acharya has given Tatparya Chandrikai, another Samskrita Vyakhyanam for Bhagavad Gita. Puttur Sri V. Krishnaswamy Iyengar has given very elaborate Tamil commentary based on these two commentaries. In that he has also given word by word meanings of all shlokams. We have translated them into English, and with the help of the English translation we are seeing the simple meanings for Bhagavad Gita. We are into 9th chapter now. This is Bhakti Yogam. It is glorified as Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, the king of knowledge, king of confidential information, and so on. So Bhagavan has explained in this chapter about Bhakti Yogam, the method of Upasanam, Bhakti Yogam practice. And he has also explained how easy it is to worship him. In the well-known shlokam, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam. In that shlokam he has explained that it is very easy to worship him with the help of flowers, water, fruit and leaf, Tirutulai, Tulasi leaf, and so on. And after that he has explained that all the activities which we do, all of those activities should be done as an offering to Bhagavan. And subsequent to that he has also explained, irrespective of the conduct of his devotees, his bhaktas, he considers them to be great and at par with jnanis. Even if one is having a very poor conduct, in Bhagavan's opinion he will be considered as great. That is because one who is having full devotion towards Bhagavan will eventually change his conduct and will become pure and will have utmost qualification to be with Bhagavan. So after explaining that in the 30th shlokam, in the 31st shlokam Bhagavan is confirming this one more time, that he considers his devotees to be great even if they are having poor conduct. And this time he is asking Arjuna to vow on it, to vouch for it. This is because when Bhagavan says something, one may have doubts, because he is well known for being a liar, for cheating, for being mischievous, and so on, especially in Krishna Avataram. So one may doubt his words. But if his devotees, his bhaktas say something, everyone will believe that, will have confidence in that. So this time he asks Arjuna to make that vow that his devotees will never perish, will always remain glorious, irrespective of their conduct. So that is explained in this 31st shlokam, and the reason for this and a good example can be seen in this Mahabharata battlefield itself. Krishna vowed that he will not take up arms in the battlefield, and on the other side Bhishmacharya vowed that he will make Krishna take up arms. when the battle was going on, Krishna was okay to cause disrepute to himself by taking up arms. He wanted his devotee, his bhakta, Bhishmacharya's vow to remain intact. So he took up arms and broke his own promise, but he made sure that Bhishma's promise lived. When Bhishma was attacking Arjuna fiercely, ferociously, at that time Krishna became angry and he lifted up one of the wheels of the chariot and charged at Bhishma. And Bhishma was very happy to see that. He was saying he was waiting for this divine darshan of Bhagavan charging at him, and he bowed at Bhagavan. But in the process, Bhagavan abandoned his own vow and he made sure that his devotee's vow lived. It is for this reason Krishna makes sure that Arjuna makes this vow, and he proclaims that Bhagavan's devotees will never perish. So let us see this shlokam now. 31st shlokam. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. Word by word meanings. Though one who is engaged in devotion towards me has bad conduct, even though such person may have bad conduct, but he is having full devotion towards me, Shipram, soon, Dharmatma Bhavati, he becomes fully engaged in Bhakti Yogam, having all his hurdles removed, all his misconduct removed, and he becomes at par with a very good Bhakti Yogi, one who is a jnani, one who is a fully realized person. Shashvat Chantim, permanent elimination of bad conduct, Nigacchati, he attains that well. He clearly attains permanent elimination of bad conduct, because his bad conduct was his previous state, and once he became a complete devotee of Bhagavan, naturally all the bad conduct will fade away. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, me bhakta, the devotee of me, my devotee, na pranashyati, never perishes. This principle, pratijanihi, you yourself declare, you make a vow. So soon this person becomes fully engaged in Bhakti Yogam and he will attain perfect elimination of all bad conduct. O son of Kunti, you yourself declare that my devotee will never perish. So this is Krishna's order to Arjuna, saying that such devotee will always remain glorious. Next we will see 32nd shlokam. 32nd and 33rd shlokam explains how everyone attains moksham, liberation, eternal service to Bhagavan, irrespective of their birth, irrespective of where one is born. One way or the other, if they are fully devoted to Bhagavan, they will reach Bhagavan. That is explained in these two shlokams. Let us see them now. Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syuhu papayonayah striyo vaishya tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. This is 32nd shlokam. Partha, O son of Kunti, Triyaha, women, Vaishyas, merchants, Tata Shudraha, Shudras, too, they too, Papayonayaha, ye apisyuhu, those who have taken birth in these lowly species, in these low births, te api, they too, mam, me, vyapashritya, attain through perfect surrender, param gatim, supreme goal, yantihi, they reach to. O son of Kunti, those women, Vaishyas, Shudras, who have all taken birth in this lowly species, to attain me through perfect surrender, and they reach the supreme goal too. In this shlokam, he is explaining about Stris, women, Vaishyas and Shudras. In the next shlokam, he is explaining about Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. We will see that shlokam also, and then we will see the deeper meaning in these two shlokams. Kim punar brahmanaha punya bhakta rajarishayas tatha anityam asukam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Punyaha, taken such birth due to previous punyas, virtuous deeds. Brahmanaha, brahmanas. Rajarishayaha, rajarishaya tatha, rajarishis, kingly sages. Bhaktaha, if they engage in devotion towards me, that they will attain liberation. Kim punaha, is it necessary to explain? Hence, anityam, temporary, asukam, filled with sorrow. Imam lokam, this material world, prapya, due to being present in, mam bhajasva, engage in devotion towards me. Is it necessary to explain that those brahmanas and rajarishis who have taken birth in these births due to previous punyas will attain liberation if they engage in devotion towards me? Do I have to specifically even explain? It is naturally understood. Hence, due to being present in this world, which is temporary and filled with sorrow, engage in devotion towards me. So these two slokams, Krishna is explaining how different classes of people will reach him. Now one may wonder why Bhagavan is saying that Stri, Vaishya, Shudra are Papayoni. They are sinful births. It is contextual. Here the context is about Bhakti Yoga. We have already seen that Bhakti Yoga can be only performed by males, the two who are born in Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya Varnas. And after undergoing Upanayana Samskaram only. They cannot, even those who are born in Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya families, if they have not undergone Upanayana Samskaram, they cannot perform Bhakti Yogam. Because Bhakti Yogam involves Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga naturally involves performing yajnams, performing tapas, performing dhanam and so on. All of these one need to have been undergone the Upanayana Samskaram and Brahmopadesham, Upadesham of mantras and so on. So in this respect it is explained here in this manner. Actually, anyone who is born in this material world, it is only because of sins they are born here. It is only the degree of the sins, whether it is more or less. So, also in wider perspective, the difference is also not much. Being born in a Brahmana family as a male member has little bit more punya compared to being born in a Brahmana family as a woman. Or similarly, if you compare any other options, in the whole scheme of things, it is very, very insignificant. Yet, here the context is performance of Bhakti Yogam. So, because of the disqualification for performing Bhakti Yogam, it is specifically said that here Shudras, Vaishyas and Stris are Papayoni. We can see even in Alvar's Pasarams, in many places, there will be the word Paviyen which is used very often, very frequently. Alvars would say about themselves as Paviyen, I am very sinful. Now it's contextual there. So in every situation, for example, in one situation, Alvar may be very near to a Tividesham, but he may not be able to have darshan of Emperuman. At that time he will say, I am such a sinner, I am not able to see Bhagavan. In other cases, he may not be able to have association with Bhagavatas. So he may claim himself to be Paviyen. So it is contextual. This Paviyen, I am a sinner, is not that I have done so many sins. It is more the lack of fortune, the lack of opportunity to perform a particular activity. So here also it is these Stris and Vaishyas and Sudras, they are said as Papayoni because they are not having the qualification for Bhakti Yogam. But that is why in the Shlokam itself there is a clue. Bhagavan says in the 32nd Shlokam, he says Vyapashritya for Stri, Vaishya and Shudra. Vyapashritya means engaging in perfect devotion, which is equivalent to Sharanagati. So for them, Sharanagati or even Sadhya Bhakti, that is Swayam Prayojana Bhakti, it is high state of Bhakti. It's not Bhakti Yogam, but it's high level of Bhakti, advanced stage of Bhakti, which is very close to Sharanagati. Only difference is, in any case, Bhakti Yogam or Bhakti has the concept of doership. I am performing Bhakti, so you are granting me liberation or whatever I desire for. In Sharanagati, that is not there. The doership is not there. I am simply accepting that you are everything, you are accepting me. So that is the only difference between this Swayam Prayojana Bhakti and Sharanagati. But for Stri, Vaishya, Shudra, because of the word Vyapashritya, meaning perfectly approaching me, perfectly being devotional to me, towards me, indicates surrender. So they can have this Swayam Prayojana Bhakti and Sharanagati Prapati, and they can reach Bhagavan. For Brahmana and Kshatriyas, they can engage in Bhakti Yogam. Eventually we are going to see that Bhakti Yogam itself is contrary to our nature and we must only perform Sharanagati. That will be explained by Bhagavan in the end. But right now he is talking about Bhakti Yogam, so he is emphasizing this particular aspect. Now one final question will be, why is Vaishyas being included in Stri and Shudra category? Because generally we have seen that Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya can engage in Bhakti Yogam. And further in the commentary it is explained that there is a Satrayagam. This Satrayagam cannot be performed by Vaishyas. It is because of this particular disqualification they are included in this first group. So all they need to do is pure devotion towards Bhagavan, and Bhagavan will eventually grant them the result. So that is the main principle to be understood from these two shlokams. Now let us move on to the final shlokam, 34th shlokam of this chapter. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaevam atmanam matparayanaha. So Bhagavan here explains finally all the steps which are included in this Bhakti Yogam, how one should engage in Bhakti Yogam and what is the result, which is reaching Bhagavan. Let us see the word by word meanings. Manmana bhava, have your mind fixed on me continuously. Madbhakta bhava, that too have great love towards me. Madhyaji bhava, that too worship me. Mam, me, namaskuru, bow unto me. Matparayana, have me as your ultimate resting place, abode. Evam, in this manner, Atmanam yuktva, by training the mind and heart, Mam eva yeshyasi, you will certainly attain me. So have your mind fixed on me, have great love towards me, worship me, bow unto me, have me as your ultimate abode, resting place. By training the mind or heart in this manner, you will certainly attain me. So Bhagavan is saying that Arjuna should engage in Bhakti Yogam. Even in the previous slokam, that was one thing I missed. He is saying, because you are born in this temporary world filled with sorrow, you also engage in Bhakti Yogam. So, taking birth in this world itself is sorrowful. So, everyone is in one level at par only. So, because you are born in this material world, you take up your duty as a Kshatriya, and that is, you have to fight, and that is part of your Bhakti Yogam also, because you do it for me. So in this slokam, Bhagavan is saying, you have your mind fixed on me, you have great love towards me, you worship me, you offer obeisances to me, bow unto me, and you have me as the ultimate abode. By training your mind and heart in this manner, you will certainly attain me. With this, the 9th chapter comes to an end. We will continue on in the next session. Alvar Embெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
To learn such valuable information about our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, please download KOYIL, KOYIL app from Google Play Store or Apple App Store. Our website is koyil.org, KOYIL.org.